Hello everybody, welcome back to Papel Podcast. My name is Michael, and today we are starting an all-new project on From Art to Model. When Season 3 released back in 2006, it blew my mind away. The dark themes, the new Deep Inferno course, and the incredibly awesome new character Kaz. Well, last week you guys voted on what our next big project should be, and the winner was this unused concept art for a Sword Clubset. So it's an exciting time for me to bring an unused clubset to life, especially with its darker Season 3 feeling. So, without further ado, let's bring this concept from art to model. So here we are modeling again. This was a really interesting project to work on, the new project, because I've actually had to divide it up by clubset. So this first episode will be episode 1, which features the wood clubset, which is this big black sword, and it looks really cool, and I can't wait for you guys to see the final result. But as you can see with this clubset, it's pretty simplistic in terms of its design. Obviously, because it's a clubset, just the nature of the way it's modeled is a lot easier to model because it's kind of very flat. There's not many dimensions to it, so it was quite easy to kind of brick out and lay out in the early stages. But I had a lot of really good help with this because I had the concept art that we had from Super Swing Golf Season 1 on the Wii, and it's actually the only place that they ever showed that concept art for some reason, but it was done by Dark, which is incredible. As you guys know, I love his work and I'm incredibly honored to bring it to life, especially since it was never used, so that's really cool. But the biggest help here was just having that concept art on hand, using it as reference. I kind of had to go into my photo editing software and you know, get the position right so then it's all aligned correctly, because it was kind of on a slight angle in the concept art along with the other 3 club sets. But I've kind of, you know, straightened them all out and I have them all on file now. So this is the first one, and then I'll be doing the next 3 club sets in the upcoming episodes, which is really cool. So today you will see this, which is the modeling phase right now, and you'll also see the texturing phase, which is really cool, all in the same video. So this part here was actually kind of one of the hardest to get right. It took quite a bit of time just with fiddling around and adjusting things, because there were a lot of, as you can see, there's like these serrated spikes that come out, and at first I wasn't really sure how to approach modeling that. You could have used something like a spline system where you kind of trace around it and then you use that, but it's not really great for topology, and even though this is a static object, it wouldn't really work too well. It wasn't the cleanest way, so I just ended up modeling it by hand, kind of keeping the topology as clean as I could, and it turned out really nice, and it looks quite good in the end, so I'm glad I went with that approach. And here I'm just modeling out the little handle, which I took inspiration from the club set, well not club set, but the sword that Kaz has. He has 2 swords. There's one that you see like all the trailers and stuff, which is the main big sword. It kind of looks like a dragon. And then you have the smaller sword, which is in some of his other animations, like I think not the birdie animation, but there was one of them that's kind of like a thinner sword. The hilt of that and kind of the handle of that has this kind of cloth that's wrapped around and kind of, you know, has a lot of wear and tear, and I use that as inspiration because I think it looks very similar to what's depicted on the concept art, and I think it's very fitting. So the modeling at this point is done. UV mapping, obviously I cut out, but that took quite a bit because I had to get everything perfect, and sadly you will see at the end of the video the handle UV mapping wasn't quite perfect, so there's a little bit of distortion and stretching there, but I kind of cleaned it up as best as I can, and it doesn't look too bad in the end. But now we're on to texturing, which is really fun, because this is when things start to come to life and look a lot like the concept art did. Now something I did here is, obviously I'm trying to replicate the kind of stylized shiny effect that they have depicted on the concept art, and I literally textured this onto it, even though in Substance Painter, because it's a PBR texture, you don't really need to do that because it has real reflections. It's not something that's just baked into it, but I wanted to specifically texture it onto it so then it kind of retains that baked look that it has in Pangyas art style. As you know, they don't have real-time reflections, so they usually have to literally texture and paint on reflections or shininess or anything that kind of looks like light affects it in a specific way. So I kind of went with that and combined that with the PBR look, so it's kind of interesting and a different approach that I would usually do. But I'm glad I did that because it does really look like the concept art in the end, and I kind of love the effect. So here I'm just doing the kind of details. There's these lines, and obviously the screenshot I have for the concept art is a 480p screenshot from the Wii game, so it's incredibly blurry. There's no real details that you can really make out, so I kind of improvised, and I used some things that I've learned from the other project which we did recently, which was Eastern Valley, where I analyzed the way that they wrote out Pangyas text, and I kind of used that and wrote it down on here, so it looks really good, and it turned out great. So I believe this is where I start to get the handle coming together and, you know, becoming a real texture. The handle is made up, as I said before, of these kind of wrapped around, almost like a bandage. So I happen to have a really good kind of weave effect that was in a procedural mask. So I used that, and if you look at the concept art, it has a bit of gradient variety. And I initially tried to do it by hand here, by just doing a black mask over the top of these and kind of fading it out a bit so then it appeared more grey. But I would have had to do every single one individually, and it was already taking like maybe 20 minutes just to do all these ones. So I ended up, you'll see in a second, I ended up kind of using a procedural mask on top of that. As you can see there, it's just kind of like these different blocks, and I used that, scaled it correctly, used I rotated it correctly so it aligned with the kind of pattern of the thing used, and then I used a blur mask on top of that to kind of make it look like it's just kind of a bit of dirt there and has some small variety. And then on the bottom of the club set, it's not perfectly wrapped around, and the same at the top, it kind of has some stripes and some weathering. So I've implemented that, and there we go. The club set is pretty much textured and complete now. So all in all, this main wood club set only took around 2 to 3 hours to make, from start of modeling to the end of texturing, which isn't too bad, but I'm really happy with the club set. I think it turned out great. It looks very similar to the one in the concept art, and I think if this was a real wood club set, especially with all the other ones that we're going to be making in the future, I would love this in the game. I think it would have been such a cool item, and I'm kind of interested to see why they didn't go ahead and make this, especially because it's seemingly so simple. It's not a really complex design, and they had like 4 different sword club sets in the game, which kind of had some not great variety in the end, so I'm kind of sad that this wasn't real, but I'm happy I could bring it back to life. And I'm excited for you guys to see the iron and the wedge and the putter as well, because they all look really cool and they all kind of have their own unique personality and characteristics. So thank you so much for watching this first episode of the Sword Clubset. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you stay tuned and join me in the next episode where we do the iron. So until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the greens. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe for more content. And don't forget to support us on Patreon below. A big shout out to Sub Baby, which is this month's Patreon supporter. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the greens.